Deep Silver doesn't seem to want to learn from their mistake that was the Saints Row reboot, because they're doing the exact same thing with Dead Island 2. Because during the development of this game, they consulted with a diversity council to make sure they weren't pushing nothing past the limits. What we're going to do, we're going to hop on over to Bound Comics, and I'm going to read to you from an interview that was done with the art director for Dame Buster Studios, who is developing this game. The first thing here I want to read to you guys is this right here. It was a really interesting exercise trying to break down what makes something LA and stands out as a truly unique LA experience. We were very cautious to take anything that would feel like a hurtful stereotype, and that's why in the studio we have a diversity council that helps us understand whether we've pushed something too far. Diversity councils, departments, whatever you want to call them, are so goddamn stupid. Do you really need a group of people sitting around a table telling you whether or not something you included in your video game is a harmful stereotype? Like, are you honestly that dense? The only way you would have one of these is if you were stupid, or if you were looking for things that people can be offended about, which, you know, that's a whole different problem right there. But what gets me about this whole thing, what gets me about this little paragraph right here, I should say, is something right here. We have a diversity council that helps us understand whether we've pushed something too far. This is coming from the developers that made one of the most controversial trailers of its time for Dead Island 1 that had a zombified little girl biting in her father. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Like we've seen this with the Saints Row reboot right now, and I guess this is happening here. We see these fucking studios that are just going in the polar opposite direction that what they once were. That's the only way I can explain it. And I don't know why. I don't know if they're just overcorrecting themselves, that's what it seems to me that they're doing. It seems to me that they are overcorrecting themselves. I'm sorry I'm stumbling my words there a bit, just because I'm getting a little bit heated here because it's pissing me off. But that's not all, because if we take a little scroll down farther here, we can see that said diversity council was formed several years prior in an attempt to not just improve diversity in games Dame Buster produces, but offer informed opinions on game developments regarding cast and overall tone. Olsen reportedly said the council has been critical in developing Dead Island's 2 tone. This here really concerns me, because it seems that the diversity council is having a lot more input on this game than just their opinions, than just saying whether something or not is a harmful stereotype. And the thing is, I am thinking that this game is being crafted for a handful of people, the people who are sitting on the diversity council. They're crafting the game not with the fans' enjoyment in mind, but rather what a small minority of people might find offensive. The type of people that look for offensiveness in everything. The type of people who we call wokies. And with all this being said, I'm honestly wondering whether or not the Saints Row reboot had one of these councils being consulted during the development of that game, because that would explain an awful lot. I mean, there's a lot of problems with the Saints Row. There's a lot of problems why the Saints Row reboot failed, but that could possibly be one of them. And if we continue on farther here, well, not really continue on down here. It's just right here. Just this little sentence right here. This little sentence right here should tell you all you need to know about the game. The council has worked very closely with us to make sure we're pushing out a good tone, because we want to make sure that we bring Dead Island 2 into the 21st century. There's a big reason why you should be concerned with this. It is because that is the exact type of language that was used to describe the Saints Row reboot. It is the exact type of language that was put in a job listing for the new Ubisoft Splinter Cell game. And this exact type of language is what sets off the red flags in my head. Now, this really could mean a variety of things, but the fact that they had a diversity council being consulted for this game, in that the art director kind of made a point to state that there would be no harmful stereotypes in this game, has me thinking all the more that this game is going to be woke. More so since it's set in LA, but let's not dive into that right now. Seems like Deep Silver is making the exact same mistakes they did with the Saints Row reboot. Now, you can say whatever you want about the reboot, but it's woke. It is. It has wokeness in it. It's a woke game, and you can obviously tell that the developers behind it were woke. And you might be scratching your head right now saying, Gamer Geek, what does this have to do with anything? Dame Busters didn't develop the Saints Row reboot, Volition did. And to that, my friend, I would say that you are 100% correct. So let me explain my thoughts to you with a very crude graph. So at the very top, we have Embracer Group, who is the parent company of a crap load of video games, one of which is Deep Silver. And Deep Silver owns a bunch of other little studios, one of which is Dame Buster's Studios, and the other is Volition. Now, Volition was the guys that created the Saints Row reboot, and Dame Buster's is the studio that is developing Dead Island 2. So as you can see, in essence, the guys who called the shots with the Saints Row reboot are the same people who will be calling the shots with Dead Island 2. And that is another reason why I think this game is going to be woke. But we don't have a lot of information about this game yet. So, you know, I might be wrong. That stuff does happen. I know, that's a big shocker, right? It's even a shocker to me. But in all seriousness, you know, I do think, I think it's going to be going down this road. I think it's going to be woke, and I think it's because of the language that was used in this article. Like I said, it's the same language we've seen Ubisoft use, and it's the same language that was used to describe the Saints Row reboot. All that stuff. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Like all these videos are, they are my opinion. There's no need to get offended about it. If you have a different opinion, share it down below. I will be happy to discuss it with you. In case you guys didn't know, I'm GamerGeek, and if you're stuck around this long, why not watch this little video up here where I go over the stupidity of one of Volition's team members. I hope you guys have an amazing and wonderful day. Peace out.